You're in the market for a drum set. You want something affordable. And the first thing that you need to decide, what is your budget? And then what are you expecting to get with that budget? The next thing you have to start thinking about is, what is the purpose of this drum set? Buying used drums. I get questions about this all of the time. Not only that, I pretty regularly buy drums that come in and out of the studio. And so as far as having a bead on, what's going on with the used market, how to go about buying them, understanding all of that, that is something that if you would have asked me 5 or 6 years ago, if I had a good understanding of it, I probably would have said no. But because of the last 5 or 6 years of kind of what I've been dabbling in, I think I have a much better beat on it. And I often help students whenever they are needing, hey, there's these 2 used drum kits, which is the better one? Hey, here's this, hey, here's that. And so that's what we're talking about in today's episode of the Drum Show podcast. So it's going to be all about gear, but specifically, how do we go about buying used gear? Buying a drum set is a stressful thing anyway, because it's expensive. I mean, it's an investment, right? And then you not only have the drums themselves, are you just buying a shell pack, or what kind of heads do they have on them? What kind of cymbals come with them? Do cymbals come with them? What shape is the drum in? What year is the drum? What about the hardware that comes with it? There's a lot of pieces. Whereas, you buy a piano and it's kind of like, it's the piano. You buy a guitar, it's the guitar to an extent, but there's not as many moving parts as there are with a drum set. Valuing cymbals is way different than valuing, snare drums and going in between the different drum brands and cymbal brands. It can be a little daunting, especially if you're just starting out on the drum. So my goal is to kind of demystify some of this and help you navigate the used market, right? All right. So, and just so you can understand, like, I buy and sell a lot of drums. I kind of have I've started a collection of my own, but then I have, all right, here we're into it, right? So I affectionately call it the herd, right? And you're always looking at the health of the herd, which could be your snare drums, could be your drum sets, could be your cymbals or whatever. We got different herds in different parts, right? That's just kind of how I refer to them. A good buddy of mine, Johnny Stanton, and I was on the road with Johnny for quite a while, and we were always talking. We'd pull up into a town, and it was sometimes like a swap shop because we had looked ahead of time at stuff that was for sale in there, and we're buying it, or we're going, it was very common to get a text from somebody and be like, hey, you got to come over here and check this out. I just start getting pictures of drums, right? And that's how you wind up, buying a whole drum set when you're in Indianapolis, a 1956 Gretsch, right? That's how that happens. So just this year, I've sold 7 vintage cocktail drum sets. I've sold 28 snare drums at least, maybe 30. Bought more of them, right? I kind of have a slush fund that I go back and forth with. I've sold 7 or 8 drum sets this year. 1 Pearl mallet station. What was the other? Cymbals, 4 or 5 cymbals, 9 or 10 drum thrones. We have the studio here. We have camps. So just to run the camps, we have like 7 drum sets set up. We have to have multiple snare drums as well, 12 practice kits, 2 E kits. I think we just ordered like 16 or 17 drum thrones. A lot of gear, right? So, okay, you're in the market for a drum set. You want something affordable. And the first thing that you need to decide is, what is your budget that you want to spend on the used drums? Okay, or on drums, period. It doesn't matter if you're buying new or what. What's your budget, and what do you want to get with that? So in other words, do you want to get the whole kit and caboodle? You want to get stands, throne, snare, drums, and cymbals? Do you want are you just looking for a shell pack, like a 1 up, 1 down, kick drum, snare drum, shell pack? Are you just looking for the shell pack without the snare because you got snare? You're just looking for cymbals? You're just looking for a ride cymbal? Tons of different things, that you could be looking for. So first of all, you have to decide what is your budget, and then what are you expecting to get with that budget, okay? And so that's the first thing I always talk drummers through. The next thing you have to start thinking about is, what is the purpose of this drum set? So are you looking to buy drums to flip them? That's a different purchase. I do that a lot. I'll buy something low and then turn around and sell it high, or higher. Most of what I sell is within reasonable price. And then is it going to be a player? So I have some that are collectors. I have some that I have that are players, and I have some that I have that I bought specifically to flip, right? And so is it something you're going to flip? Is it going to be a player? Like, is this going to be your main horse for a while? Or is this a collector's piece? It could be that. Are you just looking for something to play, or is this is the drum set I've always wanted and I've saved up for it? So you really have to start looking at those different elements to understand what it is. Most of the people I talk to are like, no, I just need something to play that sounds good and is affordable. In that right, I was just talking to a student. He was looking at buying a Catalina maple, a Gretsch Catalina maple, which is great drum set, great shells. Depends on the year you bought them. I prefer a little bit older ones, but the newer ones just have some bearing edge issues and things like that. The shells are not, some of the plies are peeling a little bit. So it's the same thing as like if you're buying a Yamaha. I always ask them, they're like, well, I got this recording custom. I might want, ooh, that's the like, or Yamaha period. Was it before they switched their production from Japan to China, or was it after? Because if it's after, it's kind of a crapshoot what kind of quality you're going to be getting. If it's before, oh man, you have some great drums. Matter of fact, I think it was Sakai drums that came in and out of the market for a little while, and I believe that was the cat that was making the Yamaha shells in Japan. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember. They had so many artists jumping ship when they changed their production. So it's not only like what is it, it's like, okay, where's it from? So that's why a lot of my students, I tell them, if you're looking to buy used, send me the stuff. Let me see what it is. And I can go through it. So we were just walking through this Catalina maple, right? This cat wanted, a Catalina maple for like $1,000 for a couple toms and, bass drum. Originally had the snare drum, some okay cymbals and hardware, which seems like an okay deal, right? Until you start looking on Reverb and figuring out that you can get a Catalina maple for between $500 and $600 with a snare drum, no cymbals. And if you got these cymbals that aren't that great anyway, you start realizing, oh, unless this is a really desirable color, which there was one I sold this past year for a desirable color. It was top of the market on the Gretsch Catalina, and I sold it with snare, bass drum, everything for $700, right? Well, this one, for what he was looking at, I'm like, dude, $500 range, $550, So let's get some practical advice on how to do this, because there's some really great places to go find them. Music stores are okay. They do operate on profit. And so if you're buying from a music store, you can expect to pay more than if you bought from somewhere, say like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. Be careful on all of these. I've been scammed before, although I understand how to set up the buy so that I can get my money back. It was like the day before Christmas and I bought an Acrolite for like $125 a couple states away. Never shipped out. The guy ghosted me, blocked me and everything on Facebook Marketplace, to which I just put into PayPal because I had done it through PayPal. I was like, this guy ghosted me, and gave him the details, and they refunded it immediately, right? So be careful buying online. But whenever we're buying it, we're looking for, let's just say this is going to be your player, you're looking for a budget drum set, and where do you look to find that? This podcast is brought to you by the Drum Better Daily program. That's actually my online drum school that I've run now for 12 plus years. Not only have I been playing the drums professionally since the age of 15, I've been teaching since the age of 18. Matter of fact, I talked to one of my first student a few days ago. I actually called him to see if he could sub a gig out for me. Daniel, love you, man. And he's still playing. He's still doing it on a pro level. I would love to have you go check it out at stevensdrumshed.com. You can find a link to that in the show notes or video description, whichever platform you're watching it on. But it truly is a community of like-minded drummers where we are striving to just be the best that we can be at the drums. In addition to over 70 pre-recorded drum courses, there's also a tech talk area where we talk about everything technology related as it pertains to the drums, e-kits, recording, doing videos, all of that stuff. There are forums where you can hang out with the other students as well. We do 2 live video student calls every week that you can join if you'd like to. We do guest artist calls monthly, and I'll even make you a personalized lesson plan if that's what you need. Yes, we talk about the nuts and bolts of drumming. Yes, I give you exercises, but we also talk a lot about how to practice more efficiently, how to practice better, and how to get more out of your practice time. I know you're just like me. You're busy, you're being pulled by work, by family, by friends, by other responsibilities. Whenever you practice, you really want to see gains and have it be productive. That is what we focus on in the Drum Better Daily program. I'll have to say personally, it's been really cool because some of these students I've worked with for over 12 years, we started running drum camps last year in 2022, and I got to meet some of them in person for the first time. Those drum camps have been selling out. They've been just blowing my mind with how much fun they are and how great a time it is to bring the community together in person. A community that was started online and has been going online strong now for over 12 years. I'd love to have you be a part of it. The main place I go to, we can go to Reverb. When we go to Reverb, we're going to be paying shipping. Okay. So I use Reverb for a little something different, and I'll tell you how to use it so that you can find out if it's a good deal or not. So typically Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, your local, or whatever that looks like locally, like if there's a local page that people are flipping stuff on, a garage sale type of an app, Virage sale, I guess it is, eBay, those types of things. So anytime you buy from eBay or Reverb, unless you're going to arrange an in-person pickup, you're going to have to pay for shipping. If you arrange an in-person pickup for Facebook Marketplace or any of those, a lot of, I didn't know this until a while back, not too long ago, a lot of towns now by the police station or fire station, they will have a marketplace drop. So you can actually go to meet somebody, and it's monitored. And so if you may have one of those in your area, I suggest you use those. So we're looking for something like that. Well, how do we find it, and how are we able to tell if it's a good price? The first thing we're going to do, right, the budget. Then we're going to say, what do I expect to get from that budget? And is this like the drum set of my dreams, or is this just a workhorse for me, or am I just looking to make some extra side cash? Once we've decided that, then we can understand, because as you value these things, if it's like a drum set you just always wanted and you got to have it, you're willing to pay more. You're going to pay a little bit more of a premium. If it's just a workhorse for you, it's like, hey, this is the street value. This is what I want to get for it. I don't mind giving you that for it. It's worth it. In other words, if I turn around and sold it, I could sell it for what I bought it for. Or are you looking to flip it? And in that case, we got to leave some room for profit. So you buy a little low so that you can put a little bit on top of it and sell it. But the way that I find the value is you can go to eBay, as well as the Reverb app is a little bit easier to use for this. And so you can look up on Reverb, let's say you're looking for Gretsch Catalina maple, and I think it was like red wine, or some the color was like a wine color, or red wine or something like that. So you would punch that into Reverb. You would see what comes up. And essentially what you're trying to find is you're trying to find a similar setup to the one you're looking at. I prefer to go to the filters once I've done that search, and in the filters down at the bottom, there's one that says sold listings only. And this is going to give you a real good bead for what the street value is on this stuff. Because some of this stuff you're going to see like, oh my gosh, that sold for super cheap. They were just trying to get rid of it. Some of it's way high. And so what I do is I try to find 3 to 5 that are similar to what I'm wanting, and then I do an average of them, add them all together, divide them by however many there are, and I see, okay, you can kind of see real quick that's the value. Like for the Catalina, I already knew the Gretsch Catalina market, because I've sold 2 of those kits in the past few years. One I sold for like $500 that I used on for sessions and stuff, just a light little kit, and then the other one I bought for $300. It was in excellent condition. I turned around and sold it for $700 because it was of that brand. It was in excellent condition. It was the right badge, and it was the right color. And so the person that bought it didn't even ask, where they're like, I want it. And so what we're doing is we're trying to find the street value for those drums. So going by something on Reverb, you can search that thing, and then you can go and you can find sold listings only in the filters and put that in there. And then again, we're looking for your exact setup, as close to the year as you can get it, the badge. You can go real deep. If you're buying older drums, the badges start to matter, all those things. Now, sometimes students will message and say, hey, I'm looking between these starter sets. So starter sets would be like the entry-level kit for, everybody has them, Pearl, Tama, Ludwig. Everybody's got their entry-level drum set, and they're usually going to be like 5-ish, 6-ish. You can get into the drum set, 6-ish, 650, with like some basic cymbals, some stands, that kind of thing. But the shells are good for the most part. And really a budget drum set like that, you can make it sing if you put good heads on it. And so that's always what I'm looking for, is like, okay, could I put $150 in heads? And that's the other thing you have to build into it. Sure, that's your budget, but if you buy used, you're most likely going to have to turn around and put some drum heads on there. So in your budget, I would allow for $100 to $200 in drum heads if you're buying used. If you're buying new, typically they'll come with them, but they're not always drum heads that you want, especially if you're buying like entry-level kits. You're going to want to replace those drum heads immediately, because those are factory heads. If you're buying a higher quality drum set from a name brand, usually those have started coming with some pretty nice heads that you can ride with once you get them. So in the used market, what's your budget? What are you looking to use it for? What are you looking to get? And then let's put a little bit in the budget for drum heads once you get it, because it is used. So if we're looking at entry-level drum kits, I ordered my son a Tama. I think it was Imperial Star whenever he started playing. And I ordered another friend one of those. I helped them buy it, and I've really not been impressed by the Tama entry level drums when you buy them new. They're just, the bearing edges aren't great. There's some peeling in the shells. We've had to send some back. If you're buying entry level, for me, the best bang for your buck, and I've got a video on my YouTube channel where we actually recorded with it. It's just going to be the Ludwig entry level kit, and I forget what they're calling them, Accent or something like that. I don't know. Whenever I was coming up as the Ludwig, oh man, what was it called? Because that was my first drum, the Ludwig rocker. Had a black Ludwig rocker that I got. So in that case, you can find a drum set like that, $300, $250 to $350 all day long on a place like Craigslist or Facebook's Marketplace. Those are good, solid. You get them, put some good heads on them, and you're good to go. The thing you're looking for on the drums whenever you're buying them is you want to if they can provide you with pictures of the rims, the bearing edges. That's going to be something that you really want to look for. Any markings on the outside of the drum are kind of cosmetic, unless they're actual holes. I was just looking at a drum set. He's like, it's got a hole in it, and the drum had a puncture through it. That's going to affect the sound. But if it's just scratches on the outside, a lot of times it's just the finish. Whenever we're talking about the bearing edges, that can really have to do with cutting the value down, as well as how good it's going to sound. You can get those reworked, but again, it costs money and it's a pain. And it may not come out sounding good. It may not be something that you liked. Okay, here is we'll call this a pro tip, right? For finding some pretty good deals on some pretty good stuff. And if you're buying used, if you're willing to look through some bad photos, you can usually find some good stuff, right? There's, as I'd say, there's gold in them hills. And whenever we out on the road, anytime you pull up into a town, because of Facebook Marketplace, you can put your pin in that town before you get there, and you can start shopping for local stuff. And a lot of times, if you're going through small towns, things like that, you can make some great deals. What I like to do is, wherever I am, let's say you're in I live just outside of Nashville. Nashville's pretty saturated, and it's got a ton of drummers, and we all kind of know the price of what things are. So if something's outrageous, you kind of get called on it. So what I like to do, and it's people eat the gear up, right? So what I like to do is I actually like to expand my circle that it's looking in, my radius, and then I put it just south or just east of where I live, particularly for kind of the areas I want to look in. So it's like within an hour or two's driving distance. Because if I can get a drum set and save $400 or $500 on the drum set, I'll drive for that, or meet them halfway or something like that. And what that does is that gets you out into the rural parts of your area. And when you get out into the rural parts of your area, you start to find some really, really good deals, because there's not the marketplace there as there is like here in Nashville. So if you're in, let's say, North Alabama, and not around, Birmingham or Tuscaloosa or whatever, or the other one coming right out of, I forget, right across the border from us here in Tennessee. If you're not by one of those major cities, then selling drums can be a hard thing. So I like to actually look. And there was a time when I was flipping pretty heavily. I would look every day. I'd get up and just kind of look in those areas and those regions. If it's a snare drum, a lot of times you can have them ship it. I remember I got a Rogers Dynasonic. I think I got it for like $50, and then he charged me $25 to ship it, and that's awesome. $75. I wound up selling that thing a couple of years later for I think $225. I used it and then wound up selling it. And so in those types of situations, whenever I find a deal like that, I don't even haggle with them. I just say, yes, I want that, and then I grab it. But again, what you can do is you can spend some time on the apps like Reverb and go, okay, well, this is what this is the year it is. You can start searching for what the price is on that and what it's going for. You can also do a search on Facebook Marketplace for a more regional, what is it worth? Because gear, like I just said, gear in rural areas is worth less than it is. It may not be worth less, but street value is, because there's not as many buyers. So what you can do is you can look in your area to see if there's any similar things being sold, and you can get a bead for, okay, so that's kind of what the price is for a drum set in this area of this caliber, that kind of a thing. The used market is awesome. I didn't have a new drum set until I signed with Tama a few years, not a few years, years back. When I signed with Tama and ordered that kit that I got endorsed by them, that was my first new drum set. Up until then, I've got a Red Recording Custom. You can see, if you're on the video, I'll turn this and see. Good. It's over in the corner. I don't know if you can see it. There's a Red Recording Custom that I bought. That old Ludwig rocker I had to upgrade. So I bought that one, and I bought the whole thing back in 1999, 2000, I think for $1,500. That came with 6 toms, kick drum, snare drum, all the hardware and cases for them. And that's a classic kit. You can't replace. This is I think this is a Ludwig Fab 4 setup. I got this one new. This drum set I bought used is Copperphonic. I bought that used from Nelson's Drum Shop, so paid a little bit more than I would have if I was looking at Marketplace. I buy used all the time. I am endorsed by companies, right? So I've been with Zildjian for a very long time. I've been with Vic Firth for a very long time. I was with the Tama for 4 or 5 years, but I left them because I wasn't finding what I wanted, and I just kind of wanted to play whatever drums I wanted to. So when it comes to some things, I go directly through the companies, but when it comes to the used market, there's some deals to be had out there, and you can just the stuff sounds good. It sounds good. A lot of times it just needs some elbow grease. You just need to clean it up. And once you clean it up, it's going to look brand new. It's going to sound brand new, and nobody will know the difference unless you told them, right? So when buying drums, though, the main thing, you're not looking at how good the drum head is. You're going to probably replace that. You're looking at the physical, characteristics of the bearing edges. How are the lugs? Is there anything bent on the drum? Those kinds of things. With cymbals, you're looking for any hairline fractures. So the main place you can damage a cymbal is, I'm touching all the cymbals that are off camera here, is right here on the edge of the cymbal. This actually has a dent where it got dropped by my bass player at the time, right there. It didn't affect the sound, but it definitely damaged the cymbal. It's hard to damage a cymbal, but hairline fractures, whether there be kind of a crescent moon type or their hairline fracture coming from the edge, can damage them. Chips on the edge can damage them. Keyholing by the bell, so that's going to be where the cymbal sits on the stand. You'll see they call this keyholing, and it's going to be where you can see it used to be a circle, and now there's kind of this, it's become instead of a circle, it's become elongated, if you will. So you have to look at those kinds of things to see if there's damage, to see if the drum is functioning. And then as you get into this, that some of the Ludwig throw-offs, the older throw-offs, they need what they call the old assist. So you can't just grab it by the throw-off and pull it up. You actually have to grab it by it with 2 fingers with one hand and then do the throw-off like that. It just, it was just kind of a malfunction on those throw-offs. But I'm always willing to help. So if you ever are like, hey, I'm in the used market, what's good? I'm looking at these 2 kits. Send them to me, help@stevensdrumshed.com. I'm happy to take a look at them and help you kind of sort through that to get a good deal. But the used market is an excellent place. Decide your budget, decide what you're going to use it for, decide what you want to get, and then start using some of the tips that I just gave you. Take your Facebook Marketplace, set it a little bit north or south or east or west of where you are in a more rural area. If you're driving, I do this all the time. If I'm going somewhere for vacation and I'm driving, I'll go ahead and stick pins where we're going in Facebook and try to find something there that's being sold. When I was on the road, that was how I got a lot of drums. I found some great stuff going through rural areas. So that's a good thing. And then check on Reverb for the actual value of it and to find out what they're selling for, if you will. If you buy from a drum shop, you will pay a little bit of a premium because they're going to put a little bit of profit for whatever they bought it. If you buy from eBay or Reverb, just make sure it's a seller that has a really good reputation, and then you're going to have to pay shipping for that too, which for snares is not that much. Under $50 for the lower 48, usually you can get shipped with box and all, although that's been going up. And then when you do pay online, I prefer to pay in cash if I'm meeting the person, or I prefer to, if I don't know the person and it's a large sum, I prefer to use PayPal. And that way they have buyer protection. I'll just go ahead and pay for that for buyer protection because it avoids, like, whenever I got scammed at Christmas, I got my $125 back. It was lame on Christmas Day to wake up and realize I'm not getting an acrolite. I'm actually, somebody's trying to steal my money. So Merry Christmas. But anyway, if you ever have any questions, send them to me. There's some resources down in the show notes for 30 days better doubles. There's a 14-day free trial to the membership. So please go check out all of those things, and I'll see you here in the next episode.